if Gameday launched because of Chris Dunn and the success that he had, which probably is what got Gameday rolling, I got to think it's the matchups between this team, these two games back to back, I think ushered in the new era of Gameday, which was the kind of atmosphere that isn't created in very many places, that is truly special. I've never seen a more electric crowd. So because we're kind of free flow, I'm going to kind of point out to people. But so let me start with Coach. Go back in your mindset back then to just what it felt like to be in that kind of atmosphere.
Being in that kind of atmosphere is something that I think these guys will probably tell you that before that game and the build up to that championship game, with the East Lyme sitting on our bench and our fans in their section, and it was a lot of there was a lot of things to prove for this team. But there was probably one thing that they weren't ready for, is when they exited that tunnel and the noise. And just because watching that game, sitting back and watch this game, when they pan the crowd and it's people everywhere, like the people are sitting, standing, like there is no open space. That crowd was probably the best thing to play against. And those kids, they played a great game. So with a lot to prove.
One of the things that I talked to Mikey about, and I'll bring Mikey on right now. Mikey, you've gone on and you played college basketball, and you've been the first to say, you haven't had an atmosphere like this.
Oh yeah, it's not even close. And that's what you miss most about high school, is the local, the community, and like all the fans that you grew up playing in front of. They all come support you until you go to college, and like you guys still support Liam, who's playing in college, JJ, Walk, me. Like college is more of a business, I'd say, than it is like more for fun. Like you're there because you have to. Your coach has a job, and your job is to make sure that he wins so that he can keep his job, and so on and so forth. So it's definitely more enjoyable, I'd say, like playing high school, because obviously you couldn't even breathe in that place. You couldn't hear yourself think. But yeah, I'd say that the big difference is probably playing for your community and like the hometown that you grew up in.
So, Liam, what were your you were a junior, you were more of a role player at this point, but you had played in big games as well. Looking at that group, and I'm going to have the same question for JJ, because we have with us the three seniors, Eric, Mikey, and Walk, but then JJ, you guys were the juniors. How was it for you guys as juniors, surrounded by this group? Did you have a sense that that this was going to be a special year?
Oh, definitely. I mean, even in the summer league before that, we knew coming in that we had a special team and we could go all the way for a state championship. And I know for myself, and I'm sure JJ is the same, we wanted to win that for the seniors and kind of represent them and make sure they go out on that high note. And then for us the next year, we wanted to do the same thing. So it's kind of always, we wanted that win first mentality for the seniors. And then it was a great team. And I mean, the atmosphere at Lancer Nation was just topped it off even better for all of us.
Now, JJ, you were penciled in going in to be the starting off guard. And then Omar, came to school and you had to take a role on the bench. And we made note of that that was a sacrifice for you to try to, incorporate yourself into the team. Now you come into the first game and you break Mikey's record for getting a shot off. It took you 1.3 seconds to get a shot off when you checked into the game. But talk about adjusting to your role. Obviously, the next year you become, the guy. But talk about adjusting to Omar coming to Waterford and sort of the overall, team atmosphere you guys had.
Well, when Omar came, he played good defense. He worked really hard on the court, and also when I got my time, I wanted to help obviously Mikey, Walker, and all the seniors, and I know they wanted to win it, so I wanted to do everything I could do possible to help them win it.
So, Eric, we talked about your tenacity. I don't remember you being an above the rim player, but looking at these highlights, every time I look, you're up at the rim, taking it to someone a foot taller than you. What was your memories of this matchup between you guys and East Lyme?
I mean, obviously, I think you have to go with the crowd because every time we played them, it was nuts. So that's probably the biggest memory. I always love playing them because you always know like it's going to be a close game and stuff like that. But that's probably just the two biggest memories.
Sports Doc, do you remember how you felt going into this one?
Yeah, I was pretty juiced up all day long, and I guess I would ask either Walker or Mikey to say, what's it like trying to harness your emotions all day long in school, knowing you've got a big game like this? And the second question is, Bill, how important was it for you guys to have a lead at halftime so you could talk to me? I'll let the kids go first.
Well, in school during the day when you have that big game ahead of you that night, it's kind of hard to focus. I take my studies seriously, but it's like when you have a game of that magnitude coming up at night, it just everything you're thinking about is basketball and the game plan and what you're gonna do, running out in front of that big crowd. But it's important to keep your emotions in check once the game starts. You gotta kind of block all of the surrounding noise out and just focus on what you got to do every single play, and then go from there.
Mikey, you on pins and needles, or are you same as Walk? You're pretty relaxed. It's a big game coming. I got this.
Well, the ECC championship, I actually had Bassett first period at 8 a.m.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
What class? See, I don't even remember what class it was. Algebra 2. I had
Algebra 2.
So I was trying to lock in on Algebra 2 because it's really important. But I tried to stay off social media when I had big games, and because I used to get absolutely butchered the week on social media. So that was my thing, was just I'm staying off social media until I beat you by 20, and then I'll go on social media and then check out what you had to say. But basically, social media, stay off that, listen to music, whatever, get fired up. But once I went to like the gym and stuff, it was all a blur. Like just lock in, ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, there was some guys here. There was the kind of a side story when we went to the state championship at Mohegan Sun to play Avon that year. I remember the drive up. We were playing at the 10:30 game on a Sunday. We were on the bus by like 7:30, and there was like music being played, this and that, except for two guys. Didn't say a word, didn't look at anybody. It was Eric and Mikey, and they were just locked in. And that's how there you go. And that's how they were. They always were those two were just always just completely dial in before any big game. And it was just all business. And these guys were on a march. You guys said in the broadcast, it was kind of a revenge tour, which I brought up many times to them in practice. In London the time before, and then beating East Lyme the next go around. And again, the whole team by this point in the season were locked in on one goal, and that was ECC championships and the state championship.
That's right. Go ahead, Liam.
Go off that real quick. Quick story on Eric, that Avon game. There's a picture of, I think it was like the starting five, and everyone's kind of like me. I'm kind of a happy person. I'm always energetic, but Eric's straight face. He looks like someone like just stole something from him.
Rip someone's face off.
Exactly.
Lock in, baby.
He almost did that game. He got in that little.
Yeah.
Oh, he did get a little bit of a scrum.
They kept calling on my teammate.
Sir. It was
We talked about the Prince Tech game in the semifinals and how you guys kept going at him, and they thought you guys would try to slow it down and be methodical, and you went right at him like no team had, including Eric. But the thing I remember is we had everyone, the whole team gathered at Philomena's, and Mikey's dad said, "I'd like you and the sports doctor to give them a pep talk before they go and play in the game." And I said a couple nice words about remembering, this is, the best time of your life. And sports doctor was like half John Wooden, half Newt Rockney up in this place. I was ready to go play basketball when the doctor was done. But, that semifinal game against Prince Tech, you referenced both years of the state championships. The semifinals was kind of the big game. Go back to that semifinal for a second. Did playing East Lyme in a game like this and playing a kid like Dev, did that prepare you? And I'll start with Coach. Did that prepare you for how you prepared them for a team like Prince Tech?
Absolutely. When you play against, East Lyme and Dev Ostrowski, and you have to have that level of preparation and discipline. Again, the players, the few days leading up to the East Lyme game, putting in kind of not a new defense, but definitely a wrinkle on a defense we've played. And they knew if we execute this correctly, we'll take care of business. And that's exactly what they did. And then when you go up against Prince Tech, knowing because the Stewart brothers and the point guard, Washington.
Delshawn Jackson.
Delshawn Jackson.
Yeah.
Thanks, Timmy. It was one of those things where we knew they had offensive powerhouse and firepower, and our defense had to really step up. But then, I don't know if they were ready for the way we began that game. I don't know if they recovered from that, because this team absolutely came out of the tunnel.
It might have been the crispest first 4 minutes of a game that, you guys were perfect. You played perfect basketball to start that game. And if it wasn't for Mikey trying to mess it up by getting into foul trouble, that could have been a much easier ballgame.
We have Eric. We're all set.
So
come on now.
Here's some of the things. I watched the first game, and here's some of the things from the first game that stood out. The one where they beat you at home. It's, first of all, absolute track meet. It was unbelievable how you guys were going back and forth with each other, and you guys got up early. And then in the course of like 2 minutes, Mikey gets his second foul, goes to the bench, and then Omar twists an ankle and comes out of the game. And it sort of stabilized things for them. And then Jacob Peters might have played the best basketball game he's ever played in his life in that game. And, I was looking at it, I'm watching Gandenberger hit threes. Peters has got like 12 rebounds and scoop shots and I just remember thinking to myself, that's what that team, so they needed that in order to beat you, right? They couldn't beat you on just Dev or just Luke Leonard. They needed some of those guys. When we transitioned into the second game, you made a concerted effort to switch defenses, kind of took a page out of what Ledger did to them as well by playing that extended zone. And you guys went to that 3-2 sort of matchup extension. I saw your length for the first time. Walk through what that looked like for you to put in. And then, guys, we'll go around. I want you each to talk a little bit about what was going through your mind in the rematch, knowing that you were playing for the ECC championship and you had sort of a new wrinkle going into that game. We'll start with you, Coach.
I was really comfortable with our defense. It was a defense that, it was my assistant coach, Tim Leinberg, and Eric Pinch. We're just talking all the time about, putting in a 3-2 matchup and this can work and this can work. And it was buy-in from every guy and the communication. And when I watched the first half of this game, the amount of times that guys are pointing at each other and yelling at each other, this guy's coming through and switch here and switch there. That's why the first half was, I don't want to say flawless in this game, but it really gave us a leg up to get me that interview with the sports doctor at halftime. But it was that defense. And once I saw how well we were playing, and again, when you play such a good defense that the players on the other team are saying it's man, it's zone, it's this, it's that. And I'm like, they have no idea what's going on. That's when I started to have more of a comfortable level.
Hey, Walk. Peters having that big game in the first game had to irritate the heck out of you. You are as competitive as they come, and I know you take yourself very seriously down there. What was going through your mind leading up into game 2 in regards to what you had to do in the paint?
Oh, definitely. The first game, he definitely got the best of me down low. I wasn't physical enough. I wasn't getting good position on him. Sometimes I was helping other players too much. Like the first game, I think we had more of a focus on trying to shut down Dev and Luke and giving too much help there, and that left gaps for other players to get open. And then the second game, when we went to that 3-2 matchup zone, it just Dev was contained, Luke was contained, but we also had the other guys in the back. And I just played a more physical game with Peters because I knew what he had, I knew what he would do, and then it worked out well.
Yeah, Liam, was there some soul searching after that 2-game losing streak during the season by the team? And, who led it? Was it coach? Was it the players? Or was it a collective group to say, listen, we got to right in the ship here a little bit? Yeah,
I think especially the middle game, too, against Stonington. Because I remember after the loss to Slime, I think Timmy was the one that said, like, all right, it's going to be a bad day to be a Bear, because we were playing Stonington next, and we wanted to demolish them. But we
barely beat them.
We struggled again, and then the same in New London. New London got the best of us. But then after those that 3-game stretch, Coach Bassett and Coach Timmy, and then everyone else as a collective group kind of focused in and said, all right, this is it. And then we didn't look back.
After the loss to New London, we played Ledyard is the next game, and they were just foaming at the mouth. Like, oh, they've lost 2 out of 3, struggling against Stonington. This team is ripe to be picked. And right before they went out, I remember I told the team, I said, you guys are a heavyweight prize fighter. They got you, and they got you down on the mat. You got to get up off this mat, and you got to fight. And they came out against Ledyard in that game and really put it back together. And then there was no looking back.
JJ, even though it was only a month later, a month in high school basketball is an eternity. You got a lot more playing time. You were much more part of the rotation in the championship game. What do you remember about, getting back to that status over the course of time? And, what went into getting you back into that rotation?
Getting me back in that rotation, probably working hard in practice, remembering some of the plays. Playing hard defense and just working hard every day in practice. And when it comes to game time, when I got my opportunity, I played my best, hit my shots when I had to, just played good defense.
Sure. Cash money, right, Jay?
Huh?
Said cash money.
Cash money.
Yo.
So we go into, and I think it's safe to say that these 2 games a month apart are what springboarded Gameday to the next level of where where we realized we had something special, and it was a lot because of Dev and Mikey get the sort of the name recognition of the matchup. But I'm looking at this. It's funny because I'm looking at these games and realizing how many people I named. Yeomans and Mazzella, and certainly while we have Eric here, this was your senior year. This was the last ride for you. Of course, your brother had gone through it as well. When you are faced with the task of playing against the Dev, all right, a kid that talented, coach says you're the guy talking defenses all week. What were you thinking about? Like, what was the way to go tackle East Line?
Honestly, I think it's more of because obviously Dev is gonna get his. We're just gonna do our best to stop him. And I think it was more of just limiting the other players. In the first game, I think we let JR get loose too much. Mm-hmm. So we kind of had to focus on these other players, and obviously still try and stop Dev, but, just limit the other players and just kind of let Dev get his. But I honestly think we did a good job of locking up everybody that game.
Big play, end of the first quarter, the old Bryce Drew Valparaiso in March Madness. You guys run an inbounds play to get a final shot off. Baseball pass, flip pass, and Mikey hits a 3-quarter shot. Coach, that's clearly a design play, but how often do you practice something like that?
To be honest, these guys shot half-court shots more than anybody ever. The whole team would just shoot half-court shots all the time. But it was just one of those things where everyone had always said about this team, we love to share the basketball. And I remember when the play first happened, Mikey, was kind of open cutting and Walker passed him over and hit Liam, and Liam just kind of flipped it back to him. And it was more natural that way. And, Walker knew what he was doing.
Well, it's funny you say that because my 7th grade basketball team, all they want to do at the end of practice is try to make half-court shots as well. And clearly I blame you guys as being mentors for that. When you can't dunk, you shoot half-court shots as a means of trying to show off.
I blame Kevin Johnson for the
That's right.
for the original half-court shot. We can even blame other people who might have influenced Kevin Johnson, but we can go how far we need to go back.
Hey, Bill, I'm sorry, Casey.
No, go.
How would you describe this group to coach? Was it challenging? Was it fun? Was it rewarding? Was it painful at times? I mean, just, from the beginning of the season all the way to the Mohegan Sun, how would you describe it to coach this group of kids?
The coaching this group of kids was great. But it shows you about the leadership that comes from different players and how they guide this. And when everyone buys into the exact same purpose, just how easy it is, because you can just start talking about X's and O's and this and that. And all of these guys just held on to their role and did their role. And everyone knew, hey, Mikey's going to run the show and, he's going to get the points and, but at the same time, he'll be the first one to show that great pass. And by now, Walker was learning how to catch him, on the fly, and Max was getting them. But to get this, and they were so highly competitive. My assistant coach, Tim Leinberg, always kept reminding me, practice competitive. Every practice, we just competed and competed and competed. And there were days that, seemed like practice was, sometimes harder than games.
They talk about quarterbacks and receivers having to work out with each other because they kind of get a feel for where each other, where they are and where to put the pass. All of you can answer this question, but I'll start with Walk. I watch these games and I see those high screen and rolls, and every time I think I know when Mikey's going to pass the ball, it's out of his hands so fast. And it looked like in the first game that some of those passes were, we'll say, out of sync, either a little bit behind someone or a little bit ahead of somebody. I know Mikey knows where he wants the ball to go. So is it like that, Walk? Is it like a receiver and a quarterback where you kind of have to just get rep after rep to sort of know where the ball's going to be?
Yeah, it definitely is. So we played 3 years together in high school. And then sophomore and junior year, I struggled with a lot of passes because when you roll into the hoop, you're already at the block. You're like, oh, Mikey's just going to shoot it or I'm not open. But he still finds a way to get you the ball for a shot. And it always bounced off my hands, or sometimes I got hit in the face by it. But we did a lot of pick and roll practice during practices. So that we kind of got in sync. And then toward the end of senior year, you always got to have your hands up and expect it when you least expect the pass.
I mean, it doesn't help that I threw him absolute darts from 2 feet away either.
He's strong.
Pistols right next to me. Don't worry about that.
There'll be times where you'll go up for a shot and you're like double clutch, and then you'll still pass it. So
I'm going for a box out to get the offensive rebound, and the ball's in my hand somehow.
Yeah. There was when we played in the senior all-star, when Mikey played in the senior all-star game, right after the season was over, the older Stewart brother was on his team, and he gave him 3 pick and rolls, and on every pick and roll, Mikey threw the pass exactly on time, and he just wasn't, and it hit him in the head 3 straight times. For me, after the season was over, I sat back. I'm like, hey, it's amazing how much the timing all these guys work together. I took it for granted that every time a pick roll happened, that pass was going to get through. We were going to get something. You take a lot of these things for granted.
Well, it's funny because the following year, JJ, you had the ball in your hands a lot the following year, and you guys still ran those same screen and rolls, and it was your job a lot of the time to sort of make that decision. And even though you weren't, your skill set and Mikey's skill set aren't the same, you had a lot of those in terms of, you weren't throwing baseball darts, but you had a lot of really good. So, did you learn from that process from Mikey, and is that something that carried on in the Waterford offense, or is this like a basic basketball thing that I'm missing?
Well, yeah, when I watching Mikey do the pick and roll his senior year, and then me doing it in my senior year, obviously it helped because it kind of worked a lot, and you always hit the cutter, but if the cutter's covered, then I just step back and shoot a 3. It's cash money.
So I'm gonna go around.
For him here.
What's that?
I got one here.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to know from these guys what they thought the best chant was from the student section in this game. Was it Lucky Charms, online college? What do you guys think?
Dev is better.
I think
One of my
Dev is
favorites.
better. Luke is little. What do you think?
I think Lucas Little was the most said, but I think the online college one, I gotta admit, was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I think the
Wait, who's laughing out though? Who's laughing out?
Yeah, listen, I knew Mikey took it serious because he's been using that line since. So I want to go around because we're coming up to where we'll start transitioning out. But one of the things I like to do is I'd like to go around and have each of you talk a little bit about what you're up to. Obviously, most of you guys are in school, but or all of you are in school. But what you're up to, what you're thinking about doing, and then I have a question for each of you individually. So I'll start with Walk. Talk a little bit about what you're doing. Where are you broadcasting from right now?
So I'm actually at my girlfriend's house right now. I went to visit her for a couple weeks, staying with her, trying to stay safe, stay out of the
Social distancing walk. Social distancing.
social distance. No one's near me right now, but I'm doing that right now. And our baseball season was cut short this year. We got a few games in, and then we're on our way to Tampa to play against USF, and we get the call that season's canceled, and all the seniors were a mess, and that was tough. But right now, I'm just trying to keep throwing. I've been working out, and in school, we got finals right now. I'm a double major. I'm majoring in finance and marketing. So 2 more finals and I'm done, and then I can enjoy the rest of the summer.
And is that a giant fish behind you?
Yeah. I'm not sure what kind it is. I'm not a fish expert, but it's a fish. I can tell you that.
JJ, how about you?
Well, for me, school's done. I am majoring in physical education, and basketball season went pretty good. Lost in the conference championship on a buzzer beater, and yeah, that's basically it. Working out a little bit.
Ready to get back to it, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Now, Liam, who has the best decorated background. Sorry, Coach, but the Red Sox stuff in the background makes it all worthwhile. Liam, what's going on with you?
All right.
Yeah, I'm in my room right now, but I got 2 weeks left in school. I'm at Ithaca, sophomore. For basketball, we actually had a really good, successful year. Made the tournament and I got a win in the tournament against Babson. But yeah, pretty much good. I've been working out in the house and just keeping busy, watching a lot of movies.
Yeah, I hear that. How about you, E?
Yeah, I'm home. We finished school today. My class is going on right now. I left to join this call. But yeah, I just been playing a lot of video games and stuff during this quarantine, B&J and 2K and stuff like that. So.
Sure.
And Mikey?
Living life, hanging out, playing video games. My sleep schedule is absolutely I can't get it back to normal. I've accepted that, but I've been just chilling. I've been watching a lot of movies. Big movie guy now.
Oh boy.
I'm going into my junior year, so we'll see what happens. Working out.
All right. So, which of the following 3 things, Mikey, is the toughest? A, playing against Devin and Luke. B, having to show up at Philomena's after a game and put some time in the kitchen.
Yep.
Or C, battling the sports doctor and me.
That's an obvious question. Can I get a harder question? Because it's C.
Oh, no, okay, just make as long as we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Only because you've never laughed so hard in your life watching the sports doctor chuck it.
No, it was C because of the rim was like this.
Listen, I did everything I could to stack the deck in that one, okay?
Can I tell you a story about that? I was at college, and we're close with the girls' basketball team or whatever, and I'm in the other room. I walk in the living room, and I hear your voice, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, what? I was like, no way. There's like 15 people. They're watching the 2-on-1 thing, just laughing hysterically, and I was like, oh, my God. They watched Sports Doctor hit me with a behind the back. I was exposed.
Well, it's true that, and I know that story's true because at the charity walk for Safe Futures at the mall, I showed up to walk, and there were a bunch of Southern New Hampshire players there laughing hysterically at me because, oh, that's the guy that got embarrassed by Mikey in the 2-on-1. So I do know that story is true.
Definitely true.
So Walk, you're working your way back to not being my least favorite Sutman. We've had that. So let me ask you a question. What team wins? Your team or the 19 team?
I gotta say us. But I think we got Mikey and Eric, of course, up top, but I'd say Max and I down low. If we'll get physical if we have to, and I feel like we can push around my brother and Ryan O'Connell a little bit.
Yeah,
Walk.
Wow.
Yeah, Walk. I'd like to play that when everything clears up. Maybe we can do a little rematch or something.
What are Liam and JJ gonna just run both ways at all?
No, me and Jay are on the 19 team. Our senior.
Yeah, they can say 19. We'll put in Trevor. We got
Yeah.
TP too. TP can hit some threes for us.
All right, Liam, you get your rebuttal time. Who wins, 18 or 19?
Oh, 19.
Stop.
Yes, sir.
19.
Yes, sir.
I'm putting Jay in a box.
No.
You can't ignore me. You
Clamped
can't.
up,
I'll
bro.
give
You're
you
getting
30.
clamped up.
I will give you 30.
Imagine.
I am glad. I'm going to say I am glad that we only lost one game in 2019, so we kind of have the edge on them.
And we lost one game to like Devostrowski from 47 feet
my
in double
God.
overtime. Like, what are you
I
gonna do?
sold the bag.
So Eric,
Yeah.
who's the best shooter in the Pinch family?
Me? What?
Yo.
I see the confidence is the confidence is what I like.
That's
Right
a
there.
question.
Right there is the reason why that team has a chance to beat the 19 team. Right there. It's the Pinch swag. If there's a reason that
Pinch sauce.
19 loses, it's because Pinch the kid doesn't
Jay's
know how
in
to
a
lose to
box.
anybody.
That's why.
When you have 30 on your head, I want to hear it.
Coach, real quick, what's the difference between those two teams?
Again, one of them was just the 18 team was purely dominant. They would, you better be able to score 90 points. And you have to be able to stop, Mikey Buscetto and just stop the offensive onslaught that was about to come your way. The 19 team was very consistent and very disciplined, and they knew how to approach every team and expose their weaknesses. And that's what they did the entire season long. And they never stopped believing, down all these different points or this or that. And it was probably they were just more consistent than the 18 team.
Well, I'm going to ask Mikey tomorrow. So now, little known fact that the original Game Day broadcast team is me doing play-by-play and Mike DeMoro doing color.
There you go.
As we broadcast Chris Dunn
They
back
fouled
when he was a
out.
kid.
They fouled out Dunn. Remember that?
I do.
I do.
Not happy.
So let me
Alright.
ask you, where do these two in all of the games we've done, all of the teams we've seen, where do these two Waterford teams rank in your mind in terms of the history of Game Day?
2 and 3. I think the New London team in 2012, even though they didn't win, that was the best team by far. But, well, first of all, before I answer, I think Mikey wants to chime in on this. So
I know he's been dying. I've put them in. Okay, now, Mikey, let's go.
What's the question?
18,
Who
19.
wins? You just got to say us. We're not losing.
I'm saying us. For the sole reasons of
Hold on, Mikey. If it's reasons, they're not soul. You can't have soul reasons. It's
no,
one.
see, if it's sole reason, then I adjusted what I said. However, I'm going based off of competition level. The New London team that we faced, which you can't determine obviously because like Chris Dunn's competition wasn't as good as what we played against. So the New London team that we faced with Gio Lopez, Jalen Benson, Eduardo Gonzalez, Isaiah Benson, I think they were much stronger than the New London team that they faced.
Or any team.
I think we have.
I said, or any team they faced.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, the Trumbull team. The Trumbull team you guys played was good.
Trumbull was good.
Wait.
Thanks.
I don't think any game was. What was our closest game? Our senior.
Well, we lost 2, so
Other than that,
we're kind of close.
I mean, if we played their competition that they played against, so we would have won by 30, and like our starters would have played 3/4 every game. So, I just think, and if JJ, I don't think JJ could have handled me. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's Claire's
Well,
point.
I think we've got our first post-quarantine matchup. We're gonna have to try to get the 18-19 game.
The reason we can't do that, we have so many retired basketball players now. It's not the same effect when they were in their prime.
All right.
2 years, we're already out of our prime. 2
Who's
years.
the least? Who's the most out of shape from the 18 team?
Wait, the most out of shape that like in our top that played, not on the
Yeah.
roster.
Yeah.
you can say me.
No, Eric, I think we have to. Is it just for me? Is this on me right now?
Yeah.
That's the toughest question
All right, Walk can answer it too. Anyone can answer it.
All right, wait.
I would say me.
Everyone's doing stuff.
Yeah, I'm the only one not playing
Eric's
the
on
sport.
great shape.
That's true. Eric and Omar, I think it'll be a tight battle for who gets tired first.
I've seen Omar. Liam, everybody ready is everyone in fighting shape in 19?
Oh yeah, we're ready.
Everyone.
I don't know. Hey, Walk, how's Peyton doing? He's ready to play after this?
Oh, why'd you have to throw a jab at my boy like that?
No, yeah, come on, man. I'm just worried about him.
He'll be back to normal soon enough. He's back doing things. He's good.
That's all we need.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, you can take since JJ will play with the 19 team, you can put Mia on the 18 team.
That's probably a bad idea.
I'll take me over any day of the week.
Big Jay.
Poor JJ getting hammered. All right, last thoughts. We're going to head back to the second half of the 2018 ECC Championship game between Waterford and East Lyme on our Game Day Classic Throwback Thursday. Final thoughts, Coach, anything and everything. It's open to you.
Hey, just watching these games, watch these guys compete. It's just a joy to do, especially with everyone being home and hopefully this brings, just is really positive for the community to kind of sit back and watch this. And yeah, go Lancers.
Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for joining us and sharing some of the memories. I hope you stick around and watch the second half. I hope Eric doesn't get a failure to appear for his missed class. But in all seriousness, guys, thank you very much for joining us. It's been this has been a really great treat. Thanks to Peter Wappy for putting it together. I think at this time right now, this is exactly what we all need. So seeing you, laughing with you, and remembering with you has been really great. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having us.
Thank you.
We'll have to do it again in a couple of years.
We got it.